Breaker Crunchers. It's Friday night in Phoenix, Arizona. Saturday in Japan, right, Travis?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Welcome to another exciting new episode of Couch Crunchers. I am your host, Lance, and with me is Max and our special guest, Travis from Comic Exposure and the Pop Banzai Podcast.
Hey, guys. It's been a while. It's been a long time. Time is meaningless in the world of podcasting, but it's been a long time. It's good to see you guys' faces. I've been catching some episodes, especially on WandaVision, as you guys have been doing the last couple of weeks. So I feel like I've been in the conversation, even though I've been jogging or something or washing dishes while it's happening.
I accidentally spoiled a major part of last week's episode for Travis on their show.
Yeah.
I felt so bad, dude. So bad.
It wasn't even that. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
That sucks.
Yeah. So if you haven't guessed, tonight we're talking about the series finale of WandaVision, ironically titled the series finale. Which I was kind of bummed about because I think I could see more TV shows into her story. I think that would be fun, but I guess this is the last that we'll see as far as in TV show form of Scarlet Witch, I guess. But there he is. Sammy is here. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I was waiting for a long time. You guys gave me a bad link.
Oh, well, I don't know what that's about.
User error.
Yeah, I think so, because everybody else is here.
It's all good. You're here now. We're happy to have you.
So, in case you're wondering why I look like I'm laying down, and I made this special banner.
What?
Did I spell that right? Is that spelled right? Sensitive? That is, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
So I had a vasectomy yesterday.
Is that what that sound is in the background? Is that the ghost of your children's future, like coming back to haunt you?
Right. All my unborn children. They're saying, "Daddy, why?" Well,
Why?
Apparently, I still have 30 more chances to get my wife pregnant. So, cross your fingers.
Now, is that over time, or like you get 30 more chances in the next 2 weeks, or you got 30 bullets in the chamber? You can hold on to those bad boys as long as you want.
Yeah, they gave you a clip with 30 rounds in it. That's all they got.
Yeah. The doctor basically looked at my junk, pointed at it, kind of like very like 1920s gangster, like, that's still a loaded weapon, so be warned. Like, that's what I'm like, dude.
Wait, are you joking, or is that what he said?
That's what he said. That's a loaded weapon, and he pointed at it, and I'm like, dude, I've never had somebody point at my junk so aggressively before.
Well, you've never been to Bangkok, then, my friend.
Oh, they point so aggressively that they named a country or a city after it. So yeah, I had a vasectomy yesterday. Hence the name of my profile tonight. The factory is closed, or at least going through temporary layoffs. There we go. We got a full house tonight.
Yes,
Tyler,
right.
Yeah.
are we putting all eyes on me in my big pink shirt? I look like a giant strawberry.
I'm playing with it. There we go.
So I got a vasectomy yesterday, the day after my 36th birthday, which is what I told my wife. I said, by the time I'm 35 years old, no more babies. So I missed it by a year, but yeah, and it's very uncomfortable. So Max and I went to a Brazilian steakhouse here in Arizona called Rodizio's, and that was way too much sitting in an upright position for me.
Also aggressive, like meat being sliced off, during dinner. I feel like that would have some PTSD for you.
I know, right?
Like
your meat was just sliced yesterday.
Yeah.
And here you
Yeah.
are
Like,
watching me.
yeah.
It is a gnarly experience, man. Like, everybody I've talked to that's had it done, it's like, oh, it's fine. It's like a couple days of discomfort, but it's fine. The actual process, like before they numbed the area up, is the most excruciating thing I've ever experienced in my life. Like, it is absolutely awful. Max could tell you, like, I felt a little
Max
dehumanized. Max took me to my appointment and brought me home. That's how good of a friend Max is.
I was in there holding his hand.
They let me cut the cord just like when your baby's born.
Yeah. I said, hey, my hetero life mate's outside. Can he cut my balls while you do this for me? And they said, no, sir, that's a little unsanitary, but we'll give him one of them to take home, put on his mantle. No, I still
do with the teeth, like the old school way of the umbilical cord. He's like, let me just get in there. Let me just get in there for a second.
Yeah. Which wasn't Max's first experience with his face that close to my junk. So just kidding.
What, did they seal up some of his beard hair in there?
Yeah, it's like a token. They thought it would give me superpowers.
What really happened
Max is uncomfortable now.
No, you're good, whatever.
Yo, that makes you uncomfortable. That's what makes you uncomfortable?
No, I'm good.
You guys have been saying crap on this podcast for a long time, and now you're finally uncomfortable.
So
they put you in like stirrups like a gynecologist? Like how is that?
But I wish they did, because when I got up, so it's one of those like typical doctor's patient bed things, right? Not the hospital ones, but like the ones you go to like your normal doctor with the paper on it, right? And they peel the paper off when the next person comes in. It was so doused in just like sweat from me like ringing around for 30 minutes, and like every instinct in my body was like, you need to get up and just punch these people in the face. Like they are attacking you, right? And I just wanted to go into full fight mode. The worst part of the whole thing, besides all the pain and everything, was that you have to go in and shave before you go for your appointment. Apparently, I did not do a good enough job of that, because shaving your own area is difficult, especially when you're a bigger guy like me. So I didn't do a good job. So they must have got the cutest 21-year-old girl that they could find in their doctor's office to come in and shave me. And she's so cavalier about it. It's like, okay, we're going to take your thing and we're going to tape it up. So they taped my thing to my belly up this whole time and put like these sterile towels around it and stuff. And then she is shaving me like some like very gingerly, like little old man who shaves your face. Like she was shaving my.
Hi, my name's Sarah Shaves Shaft, and I'll be here today. I have some hot towels here. You want like a Fresca? We have some Heineken in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
I bet if you took pictures, they'd let you do a slideshow at Comic-Con.
Well, I the only thought that was passing through my brain was, this girl probably
don't get a boner. Don't get a boner.
That was number one. That was number one. But this girl probably went to school for 4 or 6 years. I don't know how long you have to be in school to be a nurse at a.
She could have been a cosmetologist, dude.
Right. And I'm thinking in my head,
she didn't even work there. Actually,
she's an intern.
She's volunteer only. Volunteer only. No, and I'm thinking in my head, like when you were doing all your studying and stuff and getting your degree, is this what you thought you'd be doing? Is shaving a fat man's balls? Like, is that why you went to so much school to learn the art of shaving my wrinkled old man testicles?
Did you actually say that to her?
No. Absolutely
you keep your mouth shut when someone's got a razor against your balls.
Yeah. Absolutely not. All I kept thinking was baseball, floating turds down the river, like anything I could to just not pop a chubby, because
I feel like this is becoming a trend on our show. I think the last 4 weeks we've talked about getting hit in the nuts or something related to our male parts.
It was all to set me up for yesterday, to kind of put some fun into it and make me not so scared. But I probably called my wife 4 or 5 times before I actually went in, laid down on the table and getting ready to do this thing. Like,
hey, babe, they're making me bend over. They've got a giant rubber band they're getting ready to stab me with.
I said, I asked her, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I can leave now. Like, I'm totally okay to leave right now." But yeah, we'll see next week if I'm still in this much uncomfortableness.
Discomfort.
Discomfort. Thank you. If I would recommend this to anyone. It literally
give your vasectomy a rating out of 5.
Yeah, how many couch cushions?
How many couch cushions?
Well, I would love to be laying down on a set of 5 couch cushions right now, but this gets a throw pillow. That's it. literally, you don't realize. I think like with most people, with women, like the brain is the epicenter of their human psyche. No, apparently everything's attached to your nuts. You know, like it just feels like your whole inside is. They're trying to yank it out through your ball sack. Like I felt it in my throat. You know, like it.
Travis looks concerned.
Yeah. How long does the process take? Can't be that long.
I was probably laying down for 20, 30 minutes.
Oh, it's a breeze. That's a breeze, buddy. I don't know.
That's a breeze to have somebody snipping at you down there.
I was sitting in the car watching Watchmen for an hour and a half. I don't know what you were doing in there.
So he tells me, so like apparently it's connected to your ab muscles, right? So that's why when you get kicked in the balls, you get like
your dick bones connected to your ab bones. Your ab bones connected to your dick bones.
So
Nice.
I every time he's like pulling on him and stuff, like I'm sitting up, right? Like it was instinctual. Like I couldn't even like control it. Like it's my body was trying to sit up. So he's like, hey, don't do that, because every time you do that, they go back in. Right.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, well, I'm just making this process more difficult because my body doesn't know how to do what I want it to do. So then I'm like,
nuts
okay,
are turtle.
So I contort my arms like in this weird fat and just hold on to the bed to like keep me from laying down. I was like, I can't be the first person that's had this issue. Why have they not put, oh shit straps like next to this bed?
Wait, did you find like wads of gum under there where your hands are?
Yeah, because that's what every man before me was doing, was just chewing Bubblicious before they were yeah, man. And I did it all for love, man. I did it so my wife wouldn't have to go get her tubes tied, because that's even a worse experience from my understanding. But
yeah, you can't have that many kids and be like, hey, and by the way, would you go through invasive surgery, please?
Yeah, right. I'm gonna go on mute for a second, guys. Carry on for a second. But
sounds like Lance's kids are being too loud. I'm gonna go ahead and get us started with what we are watching. Okay.
Yeah, go for it. I'll be back in a second.
Well, what I wanted to mention real fast is when he started talking about going to the restaurant, he was like, so we went to a Brazilian, and I was like, wait a second, you got a Brazilian wax? Like right after.
You gotta clean it up, like when you get a bad haircut and you gotta go and someone else the next day.
I was like, who came up with this plan?
It was a 40-year-old virgin.
Oh, that's funny. Well, you know what? Hey, we got a special guest today. Let's go ahead and start with you, Travis. What have you been up to lately? Anything you've been reading, watching?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us are, or at least are consuming a lot. So I know I've listened to you guys, and you guys have talked about some of the things that you're consuming, and I've been doing the same. One of the things that's been interesting is I'm trying to, I don't know, watch. I make this sound as least pretentious as possible, but I finally signed up for that Criterion channel app that they have.
What is it?
Like $9 a month. Criterion movie collections, where they restore these movies, and so like they are. They go through this painstaking process of restoring them, color, sound, everything. They talk to the directors. The directors will insert the pieces that were cut from their original films that they wanted in there. They have commentary on them. So you get to see films from all around the world. And so I've been really on this Akira Kurosawa kick, where I've just been going through and just watching marathons of Akira Kurosawa films, ones I hadn't seen before. Of course, like Seven Samurai, but like Yojimbo, Shanjiro, Throne of Blood. And wow, what a master. It's like a little mini film school, and just so impressed with that. And there's so many holes in my film viewing that it's been fun going on the Criterion channel and kind of filling in some of those gaps, watching some of the old like 1950s Godzilla, and just beautifully restored on there. So that's been really fun, actually.
Nice. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
What about you guys?
Well, let's go to Tyler next. Tyler, what you been up to?
Well, since we're on this kick about nuts right now,
kick in the nuts.
There's a game that I played last night that was a kick in the nuts. It's so I got my Oculus Quest 2, my VR headset, and we went to some friend's house last night, and there's a party game on there. It's called Akron. I don't know why it's called Akron. It should be Acorn, but I don't know. It's basically the person with the VR headset is a tree, and at the bottom of the tree spawns these acorns. And the whole point of the game is there are a bunch of squirrels that come and try and steal the acorns. So everybody else is on their phone, and they're the squirrels trying to steal this tree's nuts, basically. So, so that was
they're my vasectomy doctor,
right? But they're
trying to steal my nuts.
So so it's just really funny, like people coming up with different names for their squirrels, and the tree can basically throw stuff at the squirrels and bend down and like grab the squirrels and throw them off the map, and so it's just really I don't know, it's hard to explain VR.
No, I've seen that video. I was looking up the virtual stuff because my brother-in-law got one, so I was like, I don't know what any of this is. So I looked up some videos, and they showed that game, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. Not only a leap in technology, but already having interesting ways to create a community around that. It's people are on phones, but they don't have to be in the same room. They could be across the country, correct?
I don't know if they have to be on the same Wi-Fi or not, because you create a room. So I think that you can, because you get like a room code. So I think that you can remotely jump into the game. I just haven't tried it yet.
I think I saw that. I thought that was really interesting. That I'm like, wow, not only is the technology advanced, but they're actually doing some really creative things with it.
Yeah. And it's just super fun. And it's so funny because we've just been showing everybody that we can our VR headset and how cool it is, because I got it. And when I just doing the tutorial, when I picked it up, I was just like, wow, this is so much cooler than I even thought that it was going to be. And everybody that we've shown it to has asked us how much it is and talked about buying one, because
let me ask you a question on this hygiene for the goggles. Like, do you get like flop sweat? Do does it smell like sweat? You have to like desanitize those bad boys?
No, because if you just get the stock version and you just play with it, yeah, absolutely. It's just a foam pad and it sucks up sweat like crazy. But there's I actually bought them off of the Chinese website AliExpress. There's these sweat guards that you put over the top, and they work great. And you can pop them off super easy. So I bought 2 of them, one for me, one for my wife. And then when we went to our friend's house, we just either used wipes or we took them off and just washed them with soap and then just plop them back on for somebody else playing. So I want to get some more of them. So if I do go with multiple people, I could just hand one to each person, because they're only $2 off of the Chinese.
You don't want your goggles smelling like shin guards just in the corner of your house.
Yeah. So no, they work super well. It's just you don't realize how immersive it is. When my wife first started, there's the tutorial has a table in front of you with all this stuff on it, and she kept wanting to set her controllers down on the table, even though the table's not there, because it just felt like you were in that space. Even though it's not realistic graphics, it's so immersive that you feel like you're in that space. So
nice.
It's really cool.
I want them to do a virtual reality version of Tron, living in the Tron world. I think that would be awesome. Tron video game.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing too. They have some games that are similar to some of the mini games in Tron, but nothing that's done it justice. I don't think. I think that would be really cool as well. They are doing, I think, either Morrowind or Oblivion. I think.
Oh, really?
They're making that into VR. And I would love to see like Ocarina of Time in VR. I would love to play.
So not Skyrim. They're doing one of the older games.
It's one of those. I'm not really into those games, so I don't remember which one it was.
That's cool. Playing an open world in VR. That sounds like that'd be pretty darn interesting.
Yeah, that
would be immersive.
I would actually.
I already get motion sickness from playing those games on the TV. That I could only imagine that there'd be a few chunks to follow by playing that.
So speaking of which, I gotta tell you guys this story because I think it's really funny. So Lance a few weeks ago was telling us how he's been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and he was trying to do this raid and he's like, I just can't beat it. So I was at his house yesterday and I'm trying to beat it and I'm like, holy crap, I'm getting one shot by like all the enemies. So I zoom out to the world map and I find out Lance is level 80 and the area that we're in is 240. So yeah, of course we're getting walloped.
Hey, but you'd be surprised. I got halfway through that raid without dying. Halfway through, I cleared out every other building except the one building that I can't get past.
It's scientifically proven if you scream Leroy Jenkins before going into an area where you're outmatched, you triple your level. That is scientifically proven.
It's also scientifically proven, though, that your whole squad ends up wiping. Because
everyone else dies, but at least you have chicken.
That's right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, let's hear from you, Sam. What have you been up to?
Okay, well, aside from the usual, which is keeping the Triple D Dodgeball Instagram filled with dodgeball content, I saw a documentary that was just absolutely fascinating called Murder Among the Mormons. It's about this bombing that took place in Salt Lake City in 1985. And believe it or not, I was alive in 1985. And I'm sure that my parents were riveted when that whole thing took place. But fascinating documentary.
I thought he was going to say, I'm sure my parents were alive in 1985. Yes, that's how it works, Sam.
Yeah, they were alive. They definitely were alive. But it was that was my parents' backyard. That's where I grew up until I was 9.
That's right. Utah. You're like most of the Arizonans here and came from Utah.
Somewhere else. Yeah. But it was fascinating. It shines a light on different things, and I just thought it was really an interesting look. So I hit that documentary, but there were some other things that I saw this week, primarily YouTube channels. Again, there was a fascinating YouTube channel about the fruit. This guy goes around and he eats all these fruit, and he found one where if you eat it, it's called the toothache plant. And if you eat it, it numbs your mouth. And it's just fascinating stuff. I find that stuff fascinating.
Well,
you could have used that for your little nuts there, Lance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Get some
you should have had them thrown one in before they sewed it.
Find it online. Send it to me. I'll lather it on
That's
my
right.
On my
just pop one hole right up in there. Just have it sewn right in.
That's what you do, man. Your stitches are fresh.
Yeah.
Just restitch that. Great idea.
I think that was the most alarming thing is how many stitches they had to put on me.
They're like, whoa, these are getting bigger and bigger. Here we go.
Each
We're gonna
side
need another yard.
So there's 2 incisions. I have 10 stitches on each side.
Wow.
How many stitches does it take to get to the center of the dick? Oh, yeah.
Well, that's cool, Sam. I've been wanting to watch that documentary. I heard about it a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, it looks like it's on Netflix. I hadn't heard about it.
Yeah. Max, have you gone?
I have not. I started kind of hosting the segment.
You want me to go then? I never get to
go ahead.
I'm always last.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you got the nut store. You got that whole nut section at the beginning.
I know, right? What is Lance
been
watching?
That was the Lance hour.
Fixed.
Yeah. Lance has been watching Lance complain about his nuts hurting. That's what he's been watching. No, I finished the show on HBO Max, and I believe I texted my 3 co-hosts here about it. This much I know is true with Mark Ruffalo, whatever. and he's playing double duty. He's playing both of the twin brothers in the show, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's a mini series, limited series. I don't know what they call them now.
So,
6 episodes, and it is so good. He won an
Mark
award
Ruffalo finally got to act with someone he's been wanting
Getting
to act
ahead of
with his
yourself,
entire
Max.
life.
Getting ahead of yourself. Spoiler alert.
It is so like it's been on my watch list for it's been out for like a year or something like that, and it is so good. He plays a set of twin brothers. One has some schizophrenia and things like that, and he's in and out of mental institutions. And then you have the other brother who's just has had a life of just horrific tragedies, like his daughter dying of SIDS, his mother dying of cancer, and his brother having these mental disabilities. All these crappy things happen to this guy, and through it all, he's still taking care of the family members that are still around him. You know, he's kind of the center of his family. It is so, his performance is one of the best I've seen from anyone in the last 10 years. It's such a great show, and I would recommend that show to anyone. It's This Much I Know Is True, and it's fantastic. And that's really it. I mean, I haven't had much time other than watching WandaVision and that one. We finished Coyote on CBS All Access, now known as Paramount Plus, with Michael Chiklis. He's a coyote that's he starts as a border patrol agent, retires, and then turns into a coyote and helping people get across the border and things like that. And that's a really good show. But yeah, that's about it.
They train coyotes to get people across the border.
I think it's Don Coyote.
Don Coyote.
Tyler.
Windmills.
Good dad joke.
There is one we started one last night that's on CBS called Interrogation, and you can watch the episodes in any so you start with episode 1. So the episode 1 is set and the last episode is set, but you can watch all the episodes in between in any order you want to, and it kind of reframes the story and how it works and everything like that. But we got through the first episode, and that one was really good too. It's all apparently, from what I understand, it's all true stories and the investigation into those stories, but it's with real actors and everything. It's called Interrogation on CBS. Paramount Plus. Sorry, that's going to take some getting used to. But yeah, that's it. Maxie, what about you, my friend?
Well, I feel like I watched a lot this week, and when I list it, I'm sure it'll sound like it. I rewatched all of WandaVision leading up to the finale, which I regret because it overhyped me, so that was a problem. And then I also watched Age of Ultron because I was like, you know what? Every time I finish an episode of WandaVision, it tells me to watch Age of Ultron. Sounds like there's some tidbits I could pick up from this. So I rewatched Age of Ultron, which was fun. No, I don't regret that. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. It's not, it's not the best Marvel movie, but it's still enjoyable. So I enjoyed it. And then I've been watching, why am I blanking on the name? Watchmen. Yeah. I'm about halfway through that limited series. It's really good, really, really good. And there was a scene, I don't want to talk about too much of it because I don't want to do any spoilers for people who haven't watched it, but there was a scene in the last episode. Been out for
like 2 years. Just talk about it.
No, I'm not going to, because it was a moment that it's horrifying. But anyway, I don't want it spoiled. It's
all right.
I'm just not going to. I know we spoil things a lot on this show, but I'm not going to. But there was a moment that, like, it was the hardest thing I've ever watched. I had a really hard time watching this scene. Anyway, but it's really good. The show overall has been really good, and I'm excited to keep watching it.
Yeah, have any of you guys seen that show, Watchmen?
I only watched the first episode.
Only the movie.
Oh, this is much better than the movie.
Yeah, so let's make one thing clear. Well, I like the movie. It's got its merits, but I know it's way different than the comic. The show is a sequel to, like, the comic book storyline. Mm-hmm. So, like, where in the comic book the story ends with a squid being transported into New York and psychic powers killing 3 million people, But that's how the comic book ends. But the movie ends where they frame it as if Dr. Manhattan blew up like all of New York or whatever. The TV show exists in the reality where there was a squid, an extra dimensional squid that came to New York. And I actually just watched the episode where they did a flashback about that. So that was cool. It's really good, guys. Like if you've got access to watch it on HBO Max or HBO or whatever, it's really good. It's really, really good. And I'm not done with it. I think there's 8 episodes and I'm on episode 5. So I've got some time.
So they have in the show, they're showing like the Squid Rain. And it is the weirdest thing ever. Like just little tiny squids raining down on this people like rain, like the way you would think of rain. But when they hit the ground, they kind of like dissolve. It's so weird. It is the craziest show. If I did a list,
forgot about that, the Squid Rain thing.
It's the first scene, right?
Yeah, that's in the first episode.
Oh, you see it again. You see it again a couple times throughout the show. You might have just not have seen it again yet, but
yeah, I don't think I've seen it again yet. But that's also weird that's even. Never mind. It's not weird that it's happening. They're trying to keep this charade alive that it was real when it wasn't.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts, man. Like that show, excellent storytelling. I really hope they come back for a season 2. So far, it's not looking like they will.
Well, because the intent was to be a limited series, much like WandaVision, and so they aren't planning on coming back with another season. But I'll tell you, one of the things I love about this show, this is another reason why it's hard to watch. A big part of the storyline is it's about white supremacy, and the villains are essentially the Ku Klux Klan in different outfits. I mean, the Ku Klux Klan is heavily part of the storyline. And I tell you what, when the heroes are beating the crap out of people in Klan outfits, it is the most satisfying thing in the world to watch. So I'll tell you that much is great. I love watching KKK people get the crap out of them. So if for nothing else, it's fun to watch that.
Well, I don't have HBO Max. I don't have HBO. I have HBO Lance, and so the picture just kind of leaned back like this. Yeah. And everybody's balls have been cut off.
Yeah, there's a lot less testosterone in HBO Lance. Travis, you got to watch the rest of that. Did you watch or you read the comic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, in the comic, Watchmen is considered one of, if not the best graphic novel of all time, right? It's considered a masterpiece.
It was that age kind of change where it kind of changed the comic landscape for a while, and then you got Frank Miller coming out of there and all that. Yeah.
So the show is very faithful to the comic book, where in my opinion the movie was not. So if you're a fan of the graphic novel, definitely watch the TV show.
I don't know why I didn't continue it. I mean, there's so much on, but it's definitely one that I've only heard good things about, and it's going to be one that maybe I'll binge on a trip sometime, like a plane flight or something.
Yeah, it's a quick watch. It's 8. I think it's 8 episodes, and I'm not done with it yet. But 8 hours, that's pretty.
That's
quick
super
for a TV
manageable.
show.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we all heard what we're watching. If any of these things sound fun to you or enjoyable to you, go check them out. That's why we do this segment, to get more people on our bandwagon. So now we'll get into the main topic of the night, WandaVision, episode 9, series finale. We are going to get into spoilers, so if you have not seen the episode yet, do not continue with this podcast. Watch it tomorrow or something. Now, I know Max hyped himself up for the show. The last episode, he was less than impressed, I guess you could say. And I feel like it gave me everything that I thought it was going to give me, with a few blind sides that I wasn't too appreciative of. But it is a direct continuation from episode 8. Go ahead.
Sam changed his name to HBO Lance. I just thought it was funny.
So it's a direct continuation from the last episode, chapter 8. There's none of the shenanigans of the TV show within a TV show happening in this episode, but we do learn a few things. I think the biggest, there is 2 after credit scenes, one mid credits and one after credits, I guess you could say. And I think that is where the most revelations come through is those 2. Well, not so much the first one, but the second one for sure. It seems to have some implications for the future. But for the most part, in our discussion last week, I feel like we hit a bunch of things on the head, right? We kind of saw a lot of this coming. Wouldn't you guys agree with that?
Well, it was just you and I last week. And
right.
We got a couple things right, but like one of the things that I said is I thought that Vision was going to merge with White Vision, but that didn't happen. But you were 100% right though. That you said the episode was going to start off with White Vision showing up and fake Vision and White Vision fighting, and that's exactly what happened for most of the. That was like immediately what happened. And really quick, I gotta mention this. Maybe it's because I'm such a big fan of Man of Steel, but did anyone else notice that when Vision starts fighting White Vision, it is shot for shot how Superman first starts fighting Zod in Man of Steel? Am I the only one?
I don't have that memorized.
Yeah.
No, it was the exact same. Vision. Shut up. That movie's amazing. Anyway, so Vision comes up and gets White Vision, drags his head across the asphalt, and then throws him into something that blows up. That's literally what Superman does to Zod in his first encounter with him.
That's every fighting scene between two flying people. They do that every time.
It's pretty shot for shot because I actually rewatched Man of Steel this week too. That's why it was so fresh in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, the part where you're saying about how we thought they were going to merge together, right? In essence, that kind of did happen. The fake Vision, I guess you could call him, unlocked White Vision's programming, I guess you could say, or his main directive, I guess you could say. He unlocked him, and you kind of get a merging of White Vision and fake Vision.
It's called rebooting in safe mode, Lance.
He was blue screened. His eyes were blue. So
he got rebooted in safe mode.
Well, because it feels like the White Vision still doesn't have his soul back. Like he's got his memories back, but it didn't seem like he's back to what he used to be. At least that's kind of the vibe I got. But
he doesn't have the Mind Stone.
That's a supernatural storyline right there.
Okay.
Yeah, he basically stoner talked him into like giving up the fight. He's like, you know Theseus' ship? Like, no. He's like, you don't know who you are, man. Like, you take that away. And he's like, oh shit, man, I'm too high for this conversation. I'm gonna fly out of here. I love that.
He's not here, man.
Yeah, he's not.
Vision's not here, man.
Yeah. Whoa.
I actually liked that interaction, though. It was great. A cool little scene. Yeah, I like that.
I mean, how would a computer beat another computer? You got not physical. You got to use like logic. It's like who's got the who can wait.
I never heard of that. The ship of Theseus. Is that a real thing that he was talking about? Like, is that an actual like theory? Like, what is the original ship? If you take boards off of this ship and refurbish them and put them on a different ship, like which one is the ship of Theseus? Like, is that an actual?
Yes. I'm gonna say yes too. I've never been taught.
I'm not familiar with it, but yeah, it sounded.
Well, Travis and Sam have had more schooling than the rest of us, so I thought maybe they had heard something about that in school or something. It
reminds me of something called the Boniktarsky Paradox, in which you take a shape of any it's a spheroid, and you divide it into a finite number of pieces, and then you reassemble those pieces into two equal shapes of the same size. So Boniktarsky Paradox is what it reminded me of.
Theseus was a mythical king from Athens.
Yeah, but the ship of Theseus thought experiment is what we're looking for.
Right, but he's asking if the ship of Theseus was like an actual real thing. Whereas if Theseus was a mythical king, then probably the ship of Theseus.
I think just the thought process.
Theseus. Like,
yeah, like
the thought experiment. It's a thought experiment, right? Very Aristotle. Like is this kind of starving person?
Yeah, Schrodinger's cat, the Pandora's box, or like all those conversations that go around that. Like, is that something that they would talk about in psychology school or something like that? You know what I mean?
Schrodinger's scrotum, right? You know that one.
Yeah, Schrodinger's.
He could
Oh man. That's all good, dude. It's all good. This is why I came on the show tonight.
That was my favorite part maybe one of my favorite parts of the episode was the Theseus ship conversation. And also I think in this series, the highlights for me really boil down to a lot of Vision's explanation giving the characters something to help them heal. That whole one in the previous episode where he's talking to Wanda about what love is and grief. These Paul Bettany coming in and just kind of being philosophizing, and these characters were really kind of cool moments. We were just like, oh, okay, yeah, that kind of brings it all nicely, well worded, well written.
And what better to come from a guy with a British accent? It makes it sound so much smarter.
It does.
Yeah. Is he putting muscles? Is he putting muscle suits under the sweaters, or is he just like super yoked now?
Yeah, those are muscle suits. They use the same muscle suits on Superman and Lois. Because when he's Clark, he looks like just an average guy. But then when he puts on the suit, he's totally jacked.
They did it to Zachary Levi in Shazam. So he's got this little bitty head with like no traps and like this full muscle bound body. I was like, wait a minute, dude.
It was done really well in this one when they're tucking the kids in at night and he's in his sweater and his like jeans and his like. I'm like, man, I wish I had his posture. I'm like, why don't I look like that in a sweater? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, here's my question. I was thinking about this today. It's like Wanda's costume was so cool, but why don't people dress like that in real life? Like, why aren't we dressed like Vision? Why don't we wear capes with our cardigans? And when does fashion meet fantasy?
There was a couple kids that did that in my high school, and nobody was friends with them. That's why. I felt so bad for those. They come every day, high school, like sophomores and juniors. Every day they would come with a cape on, and they would sit by themselves, and I felt so bad. A couple times I went and sat with them.
Were they good looking?
You went to Columbine, right?
Whoops,
man.
That's Harvard.
No, they were theater geeks, and
I was one of those.
Did you come to school in a cape?
No, but I was a theater geek.
Yeah, we called them the nerd twins.
My cake got stuck in the door again. Wow, man.
I was elected president of the Thespians my senior year, and then I turned it down because I was too lazy.
You were elected president of the Lesbians?
Yeah, sure. you heard what I said, but I'll let you go.
That's a fitting title. Oh my gosh.
There were some kids at my high school that would dress like they were straight out of Advent Children. It was like
Advent Children.
Final
Travis
Fantasy VII.
Yes.
Tyler was their king.
Yeah, it was.
They carry Tyler in on one of those. What are those big chairs on the post, and he has like his like minions carrying him in, and Robin Williams was there playing a trumpet.
I tell you what, though, I love having Travis on because we're talking about fashion and fantasy, and it's wonderful. Travis got us talking about
I would
sweaters.
hardly say capes are fashion.
No capes.
Oh, I can't hang with the video game conversations, but I can hang in a sweater conversation.
Yeah, let's start getting down talking about Weezer and stuff. No, I thought, what'd you guys think of her suit? I thought it was awesome.
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I thought it looked really cool.
It looked great.
I thought it was very different from what we know in the comic books, where she was very scantily, clad, a lot of bosom, things like that. But they made it. They kind of had a lot of those elements, specifically with the that's not a
tiara.
What would you, tiara thing. Mm-hmm. It definitely, kind of embraced the past, but kind of put a new.
It showed a maturing. It was a much more mature costume, kind of like moving out of your high school style into your adult style. Everything's just a little bit more tailored on there, and it just seemed like this character has matured, and her costume has matured as well.
Sam, your sister's in the chat and kind of made me chuckle a little bit. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, she's making me chuckle too.
She studied Schrodinger's scrotum in psychology class.
Sam changed his name again based on the conversation in the chat.
Oh my gosh, Lanceotomy. Oh my god.
That's Schrodinger's lancectomy is what that says.
Sorry, I'm sitting really far away from my monitor, so not even my LASIK is letting me see it. So yeah, I thought the suit was awesome, man. So as we know, Wanda kind of sees the errors in her ways in this episode and brings down the Hex, right? She defeats Catherine Hahn using her own methods against her, right? Which I kind of saw coming. they kind of spent a little bit too much like, oh, you don't know what a ruins is? Well, in
Yeah.
the ruins only the witch that casts the ruins can use their magic.
This is
And
why
I'm like waiting.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, she was missing her a whole lot in that fight scene. I was like, oh, okay. I know where this is going, right?
Well, this is the problem with shows that do a previously on. I don't like to watch the previously ons because it spoils the whole episode. If you watch it previously on this,
the big points.
Oh, okay. This is what's going to come up this episode. So anyway, I thought it was really cool, even if it was a little bit predictable. Because to be honest, one of the things I really liked about the episode, and I liked a lot of things about it, was the sense of dread that I personally was feeling throughout a lot of it. Yeah. So I'm like, every attack that Wanda levels at Agatha leads to her just losing power. Like nothing is working, nothing is happening here. And I'm like, I know she's going to win, but what's going to happen? And then as we're getting later on, I'm like, oh yeah, the runes thing. So that's probably going to happen. And then of course the runes show up in the sky and that looks really cool. And she turns into Scarlet Witch. And I thought it was really, really cool. But I thought they did a good job, at least for me, of making me feel a sense of hopelessness. How is she going to come out of this alive? How is she going to come out of this with her family intact, which she didn't, which I think was fitting. And obviously that's going to continue on. It looked like in the second post-credit scene that she's trying to bring her kids back for real.
That's where the multiverse comes in. So let's not forget to talk further into that.
Yeah, we can get into that. Yeah. But I know that I put it out in our team chat that I was disappointed in the episode. But really what it comes down to is that I think that some of the actors overhyped some things. And of course, we as fans looked too deeply and over-speculated. So I can't blame the actors entirely.
Well, Paul Bettany was trying to be tongue-in-cheek.
He freaking trolled us.
That's he was trying to be funny and everything. And then he even talked about it. He said, have you ever said something thinking it would be funny and then immediately regret it the next day? That's what he said. That he's like, I kind of feel like I led you guys on. He was trying to be cute and it doesn't always land. I do it periodically on this show. I try to say something I think is funny and half the time they don't land. So
here's the positive. Here's the positive on your end. If you say something cute like that, you're not going to have like 1 billion people on the planet speculating what you said.
Hey, don't underestimate Couch Cruncher Nation.
It seemed
Couch Nation.
Couch Nation. It totally, honestly though, like it totally seems very Paul Bettany, like his personality type of joke, you know.
Sure.
I thought it was funny in hindsight. I can look at the humor in it and find it funny.
Yeah.
It was a little disappointing because we all were trying to think, oh, this person, it's going to be Michael Fassbender, it's going to be Benedict Cumberbatch, it's going to be Patrick Stewart, it's going to be Evan Peters, like actually as Quicksilver, or Hugh Jackman. We started to go down that rabbit hole, and his comments did that. But in hindsight, because I don't take myself too seriously, and we need content for this podcast, I'm not upset. He gave us content for the podcast, so God bless him.
It was this whole show has been kind of this weird, interesting intersection where we have this property now that normally if you're going to go see a Marvel movie, you go to it and you're in that room, so you get the whole story, and then you come out and then you're like, there's no having to wait in between it. And the fan base is so big that there's almost co-ownership of the story where the fans, are really kind of building up these plot lines that are really interesting. And so it is really hard for them to deliver like, hey, in the end, we're really kind of delivering a down the middle kind of superhero story with some cool kind of effects and storytelling elements and ideas in here to make it our own. But we're really kind of telling a down the middle story here about grief or whatever it is using these superheroes. And the fans, almost created these more interesting stories in some ways, or I don't know if I want to say more interesting, but these diverse plots that people are like, oh, I want that to happen, or I want that to happen, which you don't see in a thing like Stranger Things, where it's like, well, we don't have history to pull from. We haven't been living with this as long, even though people are really invested in that franchise. So my question to you guys, do you think after this, We've seen it with Mandalorian, and we've seen it with some of these other shows. For a while there, the model was dump them all at once, but they seem to be getting more out of the zeitgeist by releasing them once a week. Do you think this is going to become the new model for even a network like Netflix, which is really have the dump them kind of model? Do you think that we're going to go back into that kind of water cooler?
I don't think so. I don't think Netflix will do it.
Haven't you enjoyed? I mean, as much as like you want to watch it, haven't you enjoyed this kind of whole culture of WandaVision?
I have. I wanted the story. It would have been really nice to binge it, but I love that I have something to look forward to every Friday. And basically, the entire year, I'm going to have something to look forward to almost every Friday because Disney Plus has so many shows coming out this year. Yeah, not next week, but the week after that, I got Falcon the Winter Soldier for the next 6 weeks. And then I have to wait a few more, and I get Loki for like 10 weeks. And then I have to wait a few weeks, and then I get Hawkeye. And then we're going to get, the Boba Fett show, the Book of Boba Fett. Like, I love it. Lance and I have had this
somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, I said Loki's in June.
Oh, did you say Loki? Sorry.
Yeah, I did. You're good. So for me, I think it's really fun. I love the water cooler stuff. So like Game of Thrones was that for me. I didn't get up to Game of Thrones until after season 7. That's when I caught up. So I really only got to watch season 8 live, which I know there's a lot of, dissent among fans about it, and I get it. But that was fun every Sunday night watching that and going into work on Monday and talking to all my coworkers. It was horrible. I bet our management hated it because seriously, the first hour of the day, half of the people at my company, or at least in my department, were just talking about the latest episode. And we just weren't logging into work for like 30 minutes to an hour. And it was fun.
I can only think of like 3 or 4 shows in my lifetime were like that, and probably Game of Thrones, Sopranos, and Lost. I would say I think are the 3 shows I can really think of where you had a group of people standing around at work talking about what happened. I can't think of anything else that was really like that in the last 3 decades.
I don't know.
Maybe WandaVision, but most of my
up there now.
Were not watching that.
Well, so WandaVision was fun because my entire family has been watching it week to week, except for like one sibling because she's not into that. But like I've got 4 sisters and a brother, and 3 of my sisters and my brother and I were all watching it. So we get together every Sunday for family dinner. And what are we doing? We're talking about WandaVision. And my parents, who aren't into that kind of stuff, really, like they'll go and watch the movies, but they usually watch them late. They're like, what are they talking about? So they want to be involved. So about 3-4 weeks into the show, they get caught up. And now my mom has been obsessed with it. And so like she gets
WandaVision? Your mom's watching WandaVision?
Yeah, she loves it.
But if they dump that, you get one dinner conversation out of that.
Yeah, and so
right?
like
but
that's been
by
fun.
Separating them, you get 8, 9, 10.
Exactly, and that's what's been a lot of fun. A lot of my siblings watch The Mandalorian as well, but not quite as many. Marvel, I think, has a bigger appeal, at least in my family, than Star Wars does. Obviously, Star Wars has a massive appeal. That's why it's so big. But at least in my family, Marvel is a bigger one. So it's been fun. I imagine most people are going to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it's going to be the same thing. We get together and talk about the latest episode. Like I think it's great. So that's my perspective.
I would like to see a healthy balance of both. Like I wanted all this at once, but I can see the value in getting it every week. You know what I'm saying? But there's certain shows where it's like, just give it to me now. There's not enough being produced right now for me. If I want to sit down with my wife, we spend 2 or 3 hours watching TV and we only have 1 episode each of our shows. There's not enough right now because of the COVID stuff that's been going on. There's less things in production. Things are on hiatus right now because of COVID and everything like that. So that's what was hard for me is, dang, I wish I had something to watch tonight and there's no WandaVision. Like last night, for instance, Max, you were over at the house and we sat for an hour trying to find something to watch. And I'm like, dang, I wish WandaVision was on right now so I could watch it.
Yeah, and then we turned on a movie, got 30 minutes in, and he's like, guys, can we just talk? My balls hurt. And it helps to talk.
It is true story. True story. We're watching a movie, and throughout the movie, I have no idea we were watching. The Steve Carell Irresistible, the political one, and throughout the whole movie, because I'm trying to focus on the movie, my nuts hurt. I'm like, guys, can we just talk? Because I felt more engaged, and it was making me forget about the pain in my down under.
You felt like your balls were being supported.
Yes,
by your friends,
by my love around me.
Yeah, it was taking my mind off of the Thunder Down Under. So,
well, to Travis's point, I want to say that let's not forget that it wasn't that long ago that this is how we consumed all of our TV shows week to week.
yeah,
You know, you'd have Goof Troop when you came home from school. You know, you'd have your weekly shows of Psych or whatever, and it was every week. It was like that, and then you'd have these long breaks. These long breaks in between seasons where you're trying to figure out what to do, and they'd send you some crappy show to try and tide you over. And it was all to sell you products, right? It was all about commercials. And now they don't have commercials. Now they're trying to sell you a streaming service by stringing these things out. It's working, right? The new content is keeping you on this kind of Disney drip.
Yep.
Which is fine. That's all right. If it's good, if the content's good enough, it's gonna do the job. So it's a marketing strategy, and honestly, Disney has taken a huge hit financially this year. They spent a lot of money on IP, and then they got their park shut down, and all the movies got shut down, and so they've had to readjust and come up with new marketing strategies. If 2020 wasn't the year of COVID, perhaps they would have dropped things more all at once instead of kind of dripping them to us week to week. But because they don't have,
that's true because they didn't do that with the first season of Mandalorian.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? They didn't really have any other content that was like keeping people excited. But it's keeping people on the hook, and hey, it's working.
I like it. I like it. You know, it is certainly a marketing strategy, and you got to look at that, as you're saying, is a really well way of saying that could change depending on the environmental circumstances of that market, right? Currently, what we're in, it's like, well, let's do it this way, so we can kind of draw that out, and also, you know, keep people past their subscription dates, get them hooked in there. But I love the fact that people are taking these stories and they're living with them for a week, and then living with them for a week, and living with them for a week. It really kind of makes the visual storytelling process much more physical. Like you have your adrenaline gets psyched up. You're like, oh, I'm gonna click this. Where is it? Why isn't it uploaded yet? What's going on, Disney? Or talking to someone about it and being like, yeah. No, I think this is gonna happen. Even researching it. I mean, how many people's YouTube channels got extra hits because they had WandaVision somewhere in there? It becomes this whole economy in itself, from where the audience gets to create each week with the people. Like, you guys create these podcasts over these last 9 weeks using the content from WandaVision to have conversations and to practice your craft and put that out there. And I really like that of the week to week interesting thing. But you're right, Lance, like some stories, like, you know, like House of Cards, when that was on, I was like, just give it to me all at once, you know?
There's no deciphering what's going on. I think that's the difference between WandaVision and some other shows is there's like my wife and I watched all of Firefly Lane. It was all released at once on Netflix. That's not a show that I'm going to be thinking about week from week, you know, in between.
Well, maybe you would though.
Maybe all at once.
Yeah.
Maybe you would though.
Yeah.
It wasn't intriguing enough.
I don't know.
Because you weren't allowed to be intriguing. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Fair enough. No. Well, anyway,
No,
I don't think
Travis? No, hold on.
No, I agree. He was. We were making a point here about the. Oh, you don't think it was a show that could be every week to week because it wasn't. Yeah. So it didn't have a chance to be like, well, I kind of was thinking about that show. Like Westworld was one. You're like, it leaves you every week. You're like, what's happening next in Westworld? Or
I'm excited
like
for season 4 because that's going to be another water cooler show for me. If I have some people that are also watching it, I just got caught up on that show last week. I hadn't seen it all, and now I'm really stoked for season 4, so I can talk about it each week. But the point I was going to make is that, like, I don't think Netflix is going to do this. But if they did that with Stranger Things, I think you would see a similar level of buzz from people. I know pretty much everyone in my family watches Stranger Things. So if they released one episode a week, we'd be talking about every episode at family dinner every single week. And we'd probably talk about it on this podcast every single week, unless there was other content to talk about. But lately there's been nothing. That's why we talk about WandaVision every week, which honestly has been a blast. I've loved it. And it's made our podcast easier. We don't have to plan it. We just know we're going to do WandaVision every week. It'd be great.
So
speaking of which, we better start talking specifics, or people are going to be upset.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We should get into the actual show.
I think there's a difference though between and we'll get back into it as soon as I make my final point here. But I think there's a difference between Netflix and Disney.
All right. I booted Lance.
Excellent.
I didn't want to hear his final. I didn't want to hear his final point.
Dude. The fact that Netflix has more than one show that they're giving us at a time, right? So with Disney, I only have a reason to log in once a week. With Netflix, I check Netflix every night that my wife and I sit down and watch shows because there's numerous shows on there, and Disney Plus just hasn't given us enough content to fill in Monday through Thursday. So I think that's the difference.
I've been watching it nearly every day, but it just depends on what's on your mind. We've been enjoying watching Disney movies with our son. He loves the animated stuff and the music, and so like for us, we've been using Disney Plus a lot. But I get it. New content, there's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's just Fridays.
Yeah. So, what did you guys think? So I have some questions about this episode, and maybe you guys can help me explain them, right? So, Catherine Hahn, who plays Agatha Harkness, she is defeated because Wanda makes her believe that she is this nosy neighbor character, right? Does that still hold true now that the hex has fallen?
What are you asking? Is she going to
curse? So the curse that Scarlet Witch put on Agatha Harkness, right, of making her think she's the nosy neighbor. When the hex fell, is that curse still on Agatha Harkness?
Yes.
So she is going to.
Curse.
Okay. So she's going to. So is she? Did she set a curse and she can walk away, or is that something that she is going to have to perpetually keep? Going like she did with the hex, right? Because the hex was taking her powers all the time. Like she constantly had to keep up this.
In my study of the Darkhold, I do a weekly study group on the Darkhold. Let me tell you what I learned. And it's this. I have no effing clue.
What it seemed like,
Max.
I mean, I think she's going to have to, keep it up, but that doesn't seem very difficult considering the thousands of people that she had controlled at once, and then on top of the hex, which the hex seemed like it was more of changing the landscape rather than being what was mind controlling people, because she could do those two things
simultaneously, right? Simultaneously.
Yeah. So it was they weren't necessarily connected. The hex was more just like transforming matter into something else, right? So the hex gone seemed to not really affect her ability to mind control people.
That is not true, Sam. I've been within 10 miles of Gilbert High.
Sam said in the chat that Lance has not been within 10 miles of a dodgeball court.
But no, I have no interest in playing dodgeball for the next couple weeks, man. Like the idea of potentially getting hit in the nuts terrifies me.
Well, and there are some guys that purposefully aim for the nuts. So
yeah, I think I'm good. I'll watch from Instagram. So question then, Tyler, to expound on your point, if she is able to keep that curse on Agatha going like that, why was she not able then to keep her twins and Vision there? Like, I understand the wall fell down and they disappeared because the wall fell down, right? But couldn't she just make them appear without the wall?
It's
that powerful.
Well, like I say, the hex seemed to be what was creating matter, and so or at least distorting matter. So I feel like they couldn't be there. Like their physical bodies couldn't be there because it was part of the hex. That's what it seemed like to me.
I also feel like to go with that too is I don't think Wanda let Vision and the kids go because she couldn't hold the thing up anymore. I think she realized what she was doing was wrong and not healthy and not real. And now that Vision knew it as well. And so I like, if it was like, well, I would keep it up if I could, but I can't. I wouldn't like the ending as much. as opposed to that character becoming that round character who realizes the error of their ways and is going to grieve differently.
Yeah, exactly. So like you mentioned it earlier that Travis, that this is a story about grief. And if you're looking at the 5 stages of grief, she's essentially at acceptance finally by the end of the episode.
I don't know. I don't remember the 5 stages of grief. Do you know all of them, Max? Go.
Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I Googled it just before I started.
Well, you forgot about binge eating.
Binge eating.
What?
Binge eating.
Oh, binge eating?
Oh,
I think
severe
that's in the
alcoholism.
denial. I think that's in the depression stage.
So I don't think that she hit acceptance. You know why? Because that final end credit scene shows us that she has not accepted it, because she's literally floating in the air reading the Book of the Damned, trying to find those twins.
Well,
as we know, because they spoke to her, and then it cuts to black, right?
Maybe they found her.
I don't know. What else would she be doing besides looking for them?
She was doing the Doctor Strange ethereal astral projection studying technique.
Well, she was, though. That's true.
Yeah, there was also all that ominous stuff about Agatha saying you've released something you don't understand.
Yeah, she did say that.
You know, on there. But it could be, you know, some people deal with grief by compartmentalizing it. And maybe she compartmentalized it, and because of her witchy powers, that space she created, like we all have to do when we lose something, you know, kind of put it in this box for aside for a while and only pull it out when you need. That thing has a life of its own now.
Well, we did see there was 2 Elizabeth Olsen's, what's her name? Wanda's. We saw there was 2 Wandas, right? This was happening in the back, this kind of astral projection.
Well, hang on. You just blew my mind.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the same thing.
What?
Well, you've got the Olsen twins playing one person, and then you got Elizabeth Olsen playing 2 twins. Right?
But right, it wasn't like she was at this cabin, like getting her tea, and then for the sake of the shot, like zoomed over and did a separate thing. Like she was in 2 places at the same time, right? So why is she putting up she obviously is putting up some sort of facade, right? Why would she be doing that?
Maybe so the government's not coming after her. I don't
she
know.
was in the middle of nowhere. So what? I don't know.
Well, to me, it seems like she's kind of in solitude because she's studying and learning. I took it as she was studying the Darkhold and trying to find a way to bring her kids back to life. That's kind of what I was.
So why project this other version of herself that's getting tea on the doorstep?
Because why not? I mean, I think Doctor Strange has done similar things too, where like in the astral plane, he's doing one thing, and in real life, he's doing something else. Maybe you just really want a nice cup of tea, but you also want to make sure you're studying your scriptures. So.
It seemed very reminiscent of both the end of the Hulk movie with Edward Norton.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got too.
And also Doctor Strange. So it was like a combination of those 2 things.
Yeah.
Dude,
I love your
victory.
Sam. Sam's sister just quip after quip after quip.
Well, they're quipping each other in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead, Travis. I didn't mean to.
I think the ultimate victory of the show is changing the Scarlet Witch into a character that is has dimensions and that we care about, and that now you've created this really kind of heavy hitting character that people can't wait to see again. Other than the people who are like, you pick your favorite Avenger. Well, I'm gonna go with Scarlet Witch because, you know, whatever it is, maybe you like the character, maybe you like the actress, maybe you like the whatever it is. But now, you know, if this next phase is about creating characters that you really care about, like we had with Captain America and Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, this has put her in place that you can't wait to see Scarlet Witch again. You want to see this character. She has a personality now. She's conflicted, which always makes a good character. She was, she was very stereotypically conflicted before, but now we see much more depth to her. And so, well done. If that's how Disney is going to use these shows, is maybe not to progress the Marvel universe into major milestones, but to really take that time to develop characters, which we can now put into play in these bigger tentpole movies in a way that is much more resonant.
Well, and they kind of took away the heart of the MCU, right? The two of them, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. were kind of the heart of the MCU, right? In their respective characters. Both those guys are gone. So who's the heart now? We know it's not Brie Larson because she's not dimensional.
Let me ask you this, Lance. Do you think that with what they've done with Vision in this show, I know he's kind of off the table right now. Do you think they've done enough with him that he could be the heart? Is there enough in him now that people could respond to him the same way they responded to Cap and Iron Man?
The fake Vision, yes. I don't see that in White Vision yet. I think potentially him being kind of lost in this void without a soul and everything. Well, Supernatural did it for a whole 2 seasons where Sam lost his soul and was kind of like the shell, right? So there was emotion in that, in caring about the character, about him becoming whole again. So I think potentially, your new heart is Scarlet Witch, in her putting her family back together. And so I think the heart with Vision resides in Scarlet Witch.
I just don't know that would work for me. The problem with Scarlet Witch, like I'm very invested in her character, but for a very different reason than Captain America and Iron Man. Like I think that she's an interesting character and fun to watch, but the issue is that she kind of did become a villain. And so like a couple of guys have mentioned that she figured out the error of her ways. I don't think that's what it was. I think that she just realized how bad what she was doing was. Like she knew that she was the villain already. She even said that to Rambo, right? She already knew she was being the villain and mind controlling people. She's not an idiot. She knows that that's wrong, and she knows that she was doing a bad thing.
But she was genuinely shocked that they were suffering in this episode.
Okay, but she still knows that mind control and taking away people's free will is wrong. Whether or not she was trying to make them comfortable, and she didn't realize that she was like basically torturing them, but she knew that she was the villain and she was doing something wrong. And then once somebody said,
I don't agree at all, Tyler.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Tyler, if you see me laughing. Forget Sam and his sister in the chat. It's making me laugh.
I know their conversation for the last 5 minutes has been about my nuts. So I think Captain America has done things that are wrong, that is very clearly wrong, and he did them anyways. Iron Man, the same. The whole movie Civil War is about the two of them doing wrong things.
Iron Man's the villain in 2 movies.
Yeah,
Age of Ultron and in Civil War.
But that was out of ignorance, and then they tried to correct it. It wasn't.
But I think grief is a more powerful tool than ignorance.
No, but she's sitting there mind controlling thousands of people. She knew that she was doing wrong, and she even admitted that she was the villain. She knew that she was being the villain. Like Iron Man didn't know he was being a villain by creating this AI that went off and became Ultron, right? Like he didn't know that was going to happen.
No, but Captain America knew he was protecting a villain in Winter Soldier.
He wasn't a villain. Bucky wasn't a villain. He was a mind controlled. Bucky got mind controlled. He wasn't a villain. He was a victim just as much as
he was
Scarlet
still.
Witch's
He was still dangerous. He was still dangerous, and even if they're mind control, he was still dangerous.
Yeah,
I think Tyler makes a good point here about that they leave that door open, and that could interpretation. I think if they're going to go the route where she becomes some sort of big bad, it needs to be because she chooses to do it, as opposed to something has possessed her, or her power has made her do this. It's much more interesting if she decides, no, I'm now changing and doing this thing. Like I'm making this step. Screw these people. And we're going to have that arc, as opposed to some kind of dark force getting inside her, this possession type of thing. That's kind of, I feel like, a cop out of a way to kind of turn a character.
It also is said that this magic that is in her is some chaos magic, and it can ruin the world, right? So we don't know if she's being controlled by something that she can't even control herself.
And that's true. But my other point was that she the only reason that she stopped doing what she was doing was because she realized the severity of what she was doing. Once somebody told her that they wanted to die instead of being mind controlled, then she was like, oh shoot, this is really bad. So it was like she was the villain of the show, but she only had enough villainy in her to take it like so far. You know, once she realized how
I don't think she realized she was hurting anybody. I think
she knew she was, because Vision told her as much. But I think that she was so
grief.
It doesn't make it right. Yeah, it doesn't make it right. But I think that she was so torn up in grief that she didn't care. She's like, no, I need this. She became selfish. She became selfish, and that's not a good thing. I love the character. I think she could become the heart of the MCU. I honestly think she might become a villain even more so first, and then be a hero again. I could see that happening more so, because I mean, they even mention in this episode, Angela Harkness mentions that the Scarlet Witch will destroy the world or something like that.
Yeah, I'm much more interested in Scarlet Witch for the prospect of a redemption arc. Whereas I feel like a lot of the characters we have right now are far too vanilla. They gave Thor kind of a method to have a redemption arc, right? They took away his power. Like Sam has gone over this 100 times. They took away his powers. They took away his hammer, took away his body, took away all these things. And now he has the opportunity to build himself up again and be the hero that he's supposed to be. I feel like the same way Scarlet Witch. I feel like Captain Marvel is a very bland character. I feel like we lost Chadwick Boseman. God rest his soul, you know. So there's missed opportunity there. There's really no one that I feel can be as intriguing as Scarlet Witch going forward.
Yeah, she's an intriguing character. I just don't know about her being the same role for me personally as Iron Man or Captain America.
And obviously she's going to play a different role because we don't want to see more of the same thing. But I mean, like the same ideological role as being like the heart of the Avengers, basically. Well, who else could it be?
And that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that either. I know that they've at least shown an interest in making Spider-Man be that character.
Guys, you're overlooking something. It's Lance's balls. That is the heart of the MCU.
I am basically taking this Dr. Ian Malcolm pose from Jurassic Park and on the podcast.
Okay, so
I should just go shirtless. Sam's championing me for me going shirtless, so I might as well.
Okay, but no joke. I do think that, like, if you're looking for the heart of the MCU, it actually might be a character we haven't been introduced yet, such as Reed Richards. I think that that's very possible that it could be him instead, and that he's going to hold a big sway in the MCU. I know we were thinking he might get introduced in WandaVision. I think I'm starting to realize now that those kinds of big reveals aren't going to come in these TV shows most likely, and I'm going to allow myself to not get so overhyped with Falcon and the Winter Soldier like I did with this one. But I don't know. I don't know who the heart of the MCU is going to be. I don't really think it matters so much. I'm excited to see what comes up next, though. There's so much more coming, and I think that's one of the other things when I first watched this episode that like turned me off for a second. Is I'm like, well, there was some resolution, but there's a lot of things that aren't resolved within this show. But then you have to remember that this is part of the bigger MCU. Like Vision just flew off, and so what's going on with him? Does he have his like soul back yet? Is there still a journey to get his soul back? Is he going to go to Wanda? You know what I mean? We don't know, and that's probably something that's going to get explored later. They had a little tease at the end about the Skrulls, which was kind of cool. Which I don't know if we want to spend some more time on that, but I don't know. There's still a lot of open-ended storylines from this limited series. Because that's how they phrased it. It's not supposed to get a season 2. This is a limited series. So I was expecting things to wrap up more. And I think that's why, to some degree, I was disappointed.
I want to see White Vision covered in sweet Wanda lipstick kisses. Just all over his mouth.
I have a Joker pop like that. Where he's covered in Harley Quinn kisses. He's all white. No, here's the thing, though, Max. And I think that maybe Disney didn't do a good job of advertising this, but this is a direct continuation. Like Doctor Strange is the sequel to this show, right? So there's going to be more storylines that are wrapped up in that movie from this show. You know, it wasn't supposed to be this contained thing. It was just a setup for the multiverse of madness.
And I'm fascinated to see how that's going to happen. I was really expecting more multiverse stuff to come out of the show. Because right now, like, we haven't really seen true multiverse yet, but we know that Doctor Strange is going to be all about that. So I'm really interested. I'm really, really wanting to see how this plays out. How does WandaVision truly tie in to Doctor Strange?
I just think with the MCU now, and Scarlet Witch is no exception to that, every character we have, besides whoever takes over the Black Panther role, and there's rumors that it could be Letitia Wright, there's rumors that it could be Killmonger, there's rumors that it could be any one of those people. So we don't know the future of Black Panther, but with every character, they have a shady past, really, except for Peter Parker for the most part. Well, no, Peter Parker's dealing with something now. He's viewed as a murderer, so they gave Shady Parker a shady
Parker. Nice.
Yeah. So, but you know, you have Ant-Man, who was a thief, you know, that stole and served time in prison. You have Scarlet Witch, who can't control her powers, and her powers are potentially, and she was a terrorist, mind you. So she started as a terrorist. You have
it's Sokovia. They don't call us terrorists; they call us patriots,
freedom fighters.
Yeah, freedom fighters, whatever.
You have
The accent
Thor.
only comes on when you're talking about Sokovia, though.
Yeah, her accent's gone again, by the way.
I thought it came back a little at the end when she was talking to
Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, or the agent there at the end.
Yeah, and then it was
I'm
gone
sorry
again.
for all my yeah.
I think the heart of the MCU going forward is Agent Wu. I think that's where it's at.
Oh man, I love him. I really want to see more of him.
Yeah.
She had the heart of the MCU around her neck the whole time. She just threw it in the ocean.
Yo, speaking of around the neck, can we talk about Ralph?
I was just going to say that. I think that is the biggest mystery to unlock is who is Ralph Boner.
He's clearly the person that is the missing person. Like, he's the one that was missing. Like, Ralph Boner, that is definitely a witness.
Well, I wonder,
name.
he's a movie star. I wonder if that's a porn movie star.
So
that is a perfect porn name.
Where are you getting the movie star?
He says he's an actor.
When did he say that? I watched it twice. I didn't even notice.
He's got headshots in his room.
Those were headshots for an actor. And he
Travis
says,
has headshots
yes,
in his room too. Travis, how many headshots do you have in your room?
I always have at least 10 headshots on me at all times.
Did you not? You didn't catch those were headshots?
I didn't notice. I didn't realize
those are headshots. The picture of his face with his name at the bottom for hiring purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's looking at him. She's like, "Hello, Ralph Boner." Like, that's the line. She's like, "Nice to meet you, Ralph Boner."
How hilarious would it be if he's a porn star?
Yeah, his name is definitely a porn name.
Yeah,
Ralph Boner.
All he needs is a stash. But he could be the one that's in witness protection, as Max was bringing up before I steamrolled him. But I don't know. Do you think that? So that necklace, obviously, it put him under some sort of mind control. But did it also give him his powers?
Well, yeah.
Could he be a mutant?
Maybe, but I think his powers do come from Agatha. But who knows? I mean, there could be more theories out there. It could be that he's the one in witness protection, but he is actually a mutant or something. I don't know.
Side note,
I don't want to
what
speculate too much.
Going around the table, what is the most embarrassing type of necklace you've worn around your neck unironically at some point in your life?
Puka shell.
Oh, I've had puka shell. I've had ball chain with a little guitar pick hanging from it.
The ball chain one, I think, is I've had puka shell and ball chain. Ball chain, I think, is tops puka shell.
Yeah. I thought I was Billy Joe Armstrong, so I put a little guitar pick around my ball chain necklace.
As you can see right now, I'm going for kerchief. So I'll probably regret that in like 5 years. But I feel like you can really determine the stage of someone by what they're putting around their neck. Candy necklaces. Some people wore that, like I wore those in high school, unironically.
That's fashion and function.
Yeah.
I had to stop wearing puka shells because they kept pulling my chest hair out.
Ooh, unintended consequences. Also shows that you were wearing them when you were old enough to have chest hair. So,
Well, here's the
But that's
thing.
that's a common
at 12.
misconception.
No, he had it since he was 6. He was just grizzly. His
well,
fa-
it's
his
better than the
father is
candy
a brown
necklace he had
bear.
where he's getting tufts of hair as he'd reach down and chomp on some. We just
I have this
I had to
polo
stop
shirt
doing
that I
that.
can this polo shirt that I can no longer wear because if I turn my head the wrong way, my beard always gets stuck in the button.
I will count
horrible.
popped up polo shirts as
never did that.
embarrassing things to wear around your neck.
I still do that when it's casual Friday.
Nice.
Boom.
Yeah, because Sam's a
Boom.
lawyer and lawyers do that.
Boom. Your Honor.
The old,
Yeah.
May it please the court.
Sam was-
My
Sam
God.
was-
Painmaker, it's time for the pain maker. Here we go, boys.
Sam was part of the same fraternity as Ralph Boner.
That's right.
The only thing I
Maybe.
could really think of, because I never wore necklaces, was I've probably worn some embarrassing ties in my life. It's like the only thing I can think of.
And by the way, Lance, it was pronounced Bonaire.
There.
Don't try to church.
So
it
he's a
up,
French
Sam.
porn star.
Joe Dierte.
Joe Dierte. Any other big reveals from this episode that we got to touch on? I mean, we obviously know that Monica Rambeau understands that she has powers, and I thought that scene was really cool where she kind of protected the boys.
Yeah, that was cool.
Hayward was arrested. That was a big thing. And Darcy, with no superpowers, probably made the biggest impact of the whole episode.
Took him out.
what? No, Vision totally had the biggest impact.
He has superpowers, though.
What did Darcy do in this episode
She
again?
literally crashed
She
an ice cream
Jason
truck
Bourne
into-
Tyler
I was-
Hayward.
I was speaking
missed-
impact in a literal sense.
Mm.
She ran a car into him.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, she was barely in the episode.
Dude, you saw her from the windshield. She's like, "That's what's up," or whatever she said. Her phrase.
She had
and
to
that was
catch
the
her
end.
plane to Australia.
Yeah, for Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, for Thor: Love and Thunder Down Under.
She's like, "I'm gonna crash this ice cream truck into you, and then I got to get to my next gig. So see you later." I've just been a circus performer.
She was
for
the
2 weeks.
escape artist, so clearly she was good at it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
okay. Well, were you gonna end? Because I did want to say one more
no,
thing.
I wasn't gonna end.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm gonna
Who's
say.
hosting the show? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Matt.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I felt like they needed one more episode. I felt like there was a lot crammed into this last episode, and even though it was longer, it just I wasn't a big fan. Like, I know that we had Tyler Hayward, he was a villain, but then we also had Agatha Harkness as a villain, and they were all just kind of taken down within a 10-minute window of each other. And I don't know. I didn't like it. It felt the ending of this series felt rushed to me. Am I the only one that felt that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I felt like they could have had one less episode and made each episode 40 minutes. I feel like these last 2 episodes were stretched out they could have been 1 episode, and it would have been much more.
Oh no way, man! Last episode was so good. I
didn't
love
think
getting
so.
all the backstory on her. That was so good.
I didn't think so. I thought the episode prior to, I think it was the one prior to, it was really good, and I felt kind of let down last week. And I remember saying that in our show that we had 2 or 3 really good episodes, and the last couple episodes have just kind of went. They're not bad. I want to preface it by saying that I didn't think any of the episodes were bad, but I kind of felt a downward, like we hit a peak about 3 or 4 episodes ago.
It was a little anticlimactic.
Yeah. So they could have pushed these 2 together and had it 1 episode, and I feel like it would have made this portion of the episode much more gratifying because you didn't have this buildup of a week.
Yeah.
So, but it's their first show like this. Kevin Feige's first show. He's still learning it. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, 6 episodes long. Hopefully every episode is just jam-packed, hard-hitting. So we'll see.
I thought it was interesting that the only direct, I guess, nod towards Doctor Strange that I saw was to say that Scarlet Witch was stronger than him.
Yeah, I liked that. I thought that was cool. Even stronger than the Sorcerer Supreme. I thought that was a cool line.
I gotta watch it again. I missed that.
Yeah, it was when
Yes.
she was reading from the Darkhold.
Right. But it also then goes, well, then what do we need, Doctor Strange for?
Well, I think he's going to come out as the leader. Like, I think Captain Marvel is supposed to be the leader, but I think Doctor Strange is going to be the one with the mature voice. You had Captain America and Iron Man. Iron Man was kind of gung ho. Let's run in there. Let's kill the bad guys and get out. Chris Evans was this kind of old soul, kind of thought things through. I think you're going to have a Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange potentially be those opposite leaders. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't know. Elizabeth Olsen has way better.
Did I say Scarlet Witch, or I meant Captain Marvel? Did I say Scarlet Witch?
Here's the thing. Brie Larson has real trouble connecting with the audience. Elizabeth Olsen doesn't have to try at all, and she connects with the audience.
It's true.
It's true.
With the first generation of Marvel superheroes, you had this really cool, slick-talking Robert Downey Jr., who's basically a car guy on steroids. And then you have
well said,
Chris Evans, who's like the
boy next door.
Well, no, he's like the president of the student body, but he also works out. And then Thor is like the captain of the football team, right? So you had your classic popular kids kind of leading the team now, but they're all real male centric, masculine.
Mark Ruffalo was the president of the chess club.
Yeah, essentially.
The robotics club.
But then you shift gear to kind of a more feminine future, and Elizabeth Olsen hits a lot of those notes, and she's probably hitting them more than anybody else in the female side of the MCU right now. So I think
you're right. Maybe she could potentially from Black Panther. I think.
You're talking about Shuri?
That's a really interesting point.
Could be an emotional connection. Go ahead, Travis.
That's a really interesting point, Sam. I really like that. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right that this, taking this to the feminine wave. I wonder too if you notice too that the driving background stuff was very science based under that old masculine flag, and this one seems to be much more magic based. I wonder if that, that feminine and masculine and science and magic, I wonder if those work well with each other too, or if we'll see the development of those. That's a really interesting point. I never thought about that.
I do think
Sam's right. So I knew coming in this podcast, I was going to learn something other than Lance is nuts.
You just gotta give me a chance. Let me get revved up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal that and just be like, we're dealing with a more female centric Marvel. My sixth graders are gonna be like, what? I'm like, well, listen, here's the thing.
No,
our new tagline is going to be Couch Crunchers, here to give Travis information. That's all. That's all it's going to be. That's our primary objective is to make Travis learned.
I'm going to regurgitate this stuff now.
I mean, that's nothing new. Kevin Feige has said many times that he thinks the future of the MCU is female, and he has tried with different superheroes to try and push a more women inclusive narrative. And the thing about it is that movies for women by women are very different than movies for men by men. And we see that a lot with like Captain Marvel. It's a very different style of tension that they're trying to drive, which is with a woman, you're not allowed to make any mistakes at all. So if you make a plan, it better go off without a hitch, because you're not allowed to make any mistakes. And it's just the possibility of error that really drives the tension. Whereas with the other movies, the previous Marvel movies, they make a plan and it all goes to crap before they pull things out and figure it out. So it's a very different style of storytelling, very different style of writing. And yeah, I think you're right. I think we are going to see a lot more magic because that does really connect more with the female audience than the science and the.
It's like the
grounded
STEM
stuff.
is for men, and then the humanities, arts and humanities.
I don't know about this. I really don't like where this conversation.
Well,
is going.
would
I
you
couldn't
argue?
disagree with this more.
Gentlemen, okay, I'll take your silence as acceptance.
Goodness gracious. I do
Sam,
not
to
like
take
this
your
conversation.
Sam, to take your point, do you think that's why Wonder Woman works? The first Wonder Woman is because she makes mistakes. That's why male audiences were liked it.
No, that's a good question. I think Wonder Woman is really good because she doesn't shy away from her femininity.
Yeah.
She leans into her feminine charms in a lot of ways, whereas Captain Marvel is like, I'm just as good, or if not better, than the boys, and so she's not leaning into any feminine charm. She's like eschewing them completely, and I think that's why male audiences were more captivated by Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman than they were by Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
And I feel like Brie Larson, because we all saw The Room. Is it Room or The Room? I'm trying to remember what
Room.
it's
Just Room. The
Room
room is
is
the
the other
other
movie.
part.
Yeah. So
And
I
Kong
thought
Skull Island.
I thought she was very personable in Room. I thought that movie was fantastic, and I thought she did a great job. And I've seen a couple things with her after that movie came out, before Captain Marvel, where I liked her in that role. That's why when she was cast as Captain Marvel, I was like, hey, I think this might work, right? I think the issue is that she is so stoic in these movies and doesn't show any humanity whatsoever and has no weaknesses that make her really hard to connect. What do you think?
I just don't think the Captain Marvel was written for men. I think it was written for women. And so the tension is something that we don't recognize because it's not something we have to deal with. Yeah. I know a lot of women who went and saw that movie and they felt very differently about it than I did. I didn't enjoy it at all. But there were lots of women who were like, this is my life. And it really energized me and made me feel good about myself.
But those same women love Wonder Woman as well, right? I mean, Wonder Woman has been kind
not
of
necessarily.
Interesting.
Now, Wonder Woman also written and directed by a woman,
Patty Jenkins.
But again, it did something different that I thought many male audiences are probably going to appreciate more, which is they didn't shy away from Gal Gadot's sexiness, right? There are lots of scenes where she's being very sexy, very flirtatious with Chris Pine, and it was something that a lot of male audiences, this one included, really responded to. Whereas there wasn't any of that in Captain Marvel.
Yeah, for me, Captain Marvel was really just a matter of I thought Captain Marvel herself was not a likable character. That was my biggest thing. And then she had too much power. There wasn't really any conflict. She never really went up against much resistance. So I'm hoping that in the sequel, there's actually like resistance. Because, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess in some regards, you're right. The tension just wasn't there for me. That's why I didn't like it quite as much. There was never a chance of her losing from what I saw. And I found that very not interesting.
And Sam, your point is
she could stand the use of the WandaVision method, where they gave her 8 episodes to kind of make her a character you care about. Because Wanda wasn't that far off from being very one-dimensional too, and you can kind of take her and leave her, and this kind of helped us do that.
Yeah, this made her way more likable.
Captain America could serve some use in 8 episodes just to get into the internal conflict of that character.
Yeah. I think that could be good. And I think that WandaVision, like I said earlier, did a very good job of building the tension. I was like, I was feeling hopeless for a minute there. I'm like, how's she going to pull this out? Like, I know this is a Marvel movie. She's going to win, but how? I was feeling like
you
hopeless.
you like the prospect of things going wrong.
Well, I liked the sense of doom that like how she can't win. It felt like
you like it a danger. You like it a danger.
I do, and I also find Elizabeth Olsen very hot. So it doesn't.
Yeah, she's
never hurts.
Okay, so she's like the goth girlfriend that everybody wishes they had. And then you've got Brie Larson playing, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, and she's like the jock girl that everyone kind of finds intimidating, but they still have to have the choir or the band or the drama person who's going to kind of be the third member of that female triumvirate.
Like Kitty Pryde would be great if it wasn't just like an X-Men thing, like the kind of more like bubbly, like this is fun.
Yeah,
or a Jubilee type character who's just like, we could still have fun. We could still experience life in fun ways just because we're growing as characters and facing
does
challenges.
The MCU currently have a bubbly hero like that? Like Kat Denning, well, she's not bubbly, but
I would
Kat
say
Denning has that.
I would say Wasp or Guardians of the Galaxy girl. What's her name? The Mantis.
Mantis is fairly bubbly. I wouldn't consider Wasp to
we need like a mall rat. We need like a mall rat.
Yeah. That's probably going to be a teen heroine. Like that probably will be an X-Men thing. I think that's a good point. Like a Kitty Pryde or a Jubilee when that comes up.
Kate Bishop? I'm not familiar.
Yeah, she could be. We'll see how her character is in Hawkeye.
Travis, how is Kate Bishop written in the comics?
I only read the Aja version before Kate Bishop came in, which is a great. If you haven't read, he does the art on it. Fraction and Aja's run on Hawkeye. It's very James Bond kind of espionage-esque, but the art is amazing on that. But I dropped off that before she came back into it and became a major part in that.
And we have our bubbly man, which would be Paul Rudd. Oh, and Chris Pratt, I guess you could argue.
Yeah, they're all kind of bubbly. They're all kind of doing the same jokes, and
they all kind of are.
They're all being punched up by the same type of humor.
That's true. It's true. A lot of the male, with the exception of maybe Doctor Strange, they all kind of have similar.
They're all us. They're all us. They're all fanboys. Just
like because now that Professor Hulk is a thing, he's kind of like a little aloof and
giving out free tacos and stuff.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Well, I'm real interested to see what the future holds, and I can't wait for the Spider-Man and the Doctor Strange movies. I think that because of this show, those two movies are the ones that I'm most looking forward to as far as the slate that's going to be released in the next couple of years here. Would you guys agree with that?
I'm looking at Spider-Man. I like the fun aspect of that.
Give me Squirrel Girl, Anna Kendrick. That's what I need.
Oh, she could be a bubbly one.
Yeah, absolutely. That actress is always bubbly.
I don't think she can not be. I don't think Anna Kendrick has it in her to not be bubbly. I think her face just does that.
Yeah. She's a sweet person.
I'd like to see where Yelena, who's going to be the new Black Widow, from what we've heard. I'd like to see how Florence Pugh changes the landscape going forward.
Yeah. By the way, I just Googled what is Kate Bishop's personality like, and here's the words that it used. She is very independent, blunt, and a stubborn personality.
Oh, so she'll go along well with Brie Larson.
Yeah. So she sounds like she's not going to be the bubbly one. And I mean, they could change that in the MCU version. But
well, hey guys, is there any headlines that you want to go through? I didn't really see anything.
There's one. There's one that we definitely talk about. Do we want to give our ratings then?
Let's give our. That's what I was going to ask. Like, do you want to give our ratings? Are you guys ready to do that? Ready. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Let's give our ratings. Let's start with the man of the hour, Travis, who comes to us from the Comic Exposure Podcast and Pop Banzai. Let me say that again. Comic Exposure and Pop Banzai Podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to do a Pop Banzai here in about 15. So I'm going to make my kind of summary quick. I don't think I've sat with this long enough to give maybe an accurate rating on it. 9 episodes, and I just finished the last one last night. But I give it 3.5 out of 5.
Good rating.
I think that while maybe the audience put more on this and made us excited for things that could be, I think what they did was in line with the quality that we've expected from Marvel. Some standouts to me were Paul Bettany in this, and I really loved what they did with Vision. I loved the first 2 episodes, getting back to look at how they incorporated those things. That was clever. So it's kind of down the middle storytelling with some really odd, fun choices that really hit personally for me with the kind of era of reruns I was watching growing up. And so it was nostalgic. It progressed a character, and it kept me talking about it for 9 weeks. And for someone who really wasn't looking forward to watching this show, I found myself pleasantly surprised. So 3.5 cushions.
Good rating.
Yeah.
Tyler, what about you?
So we're giving a rating on just the episode, right? Or
actually, yes. And before
Mine was series.
Yours was series? Okay, what about the episode real quick?
Episode 3.
3 out of 5?
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Tyler, series then episode. Well, episode then series. Do episode then series. I think that's better.
Okay. So this episode, I think it touched on a lot of what Max said for me as far as building it up too much as a fan. So
yeah,
going from the Mandalorian and having all those new characters introduced and seeing how they're going to spin things off really made me think, oh, maybe they're going to do that with WandaVision, and they kind of didn't nearly as much. But reflecting back on it and just looking at it as for the series for what it was, I think it turned out really well, and it made me a lot more invested in the character of the Scarlet Witch. So as far as the final episode, that effect that it had, and it making me more invested in her and some of the other characters and wanting to see more. I would give the episode a 3 out of 5 or 3.5 out of 5. The series overall, I'd probably give a 3. I thought it started off really, really rocky for me. Like we talked about before, I did not really like the first really 3 episodes of the season. Like they were not my cup of tea. But after that, it got very intriguing, and like Max was saying, like I really looked forward to seeing the episodes every week and stuff. So yeah, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. A little bit lower just because of those first few episodes being not as good.
Sammy, what about you? Thanks.
Okay. So the episode first, I want to say it didn't have me like jumping out of my bed. I was watching it in bed. It didn't have me like jumping out of my bed with like excitement. Not a ton, but it did have a little bit. And most of it was telegraphed in the last 2 episodes. So I feel like it didn't give me a lot of twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. But at the same time, it felt like a nice capstone on the series. The series as a whole, it had a lot of red herrings, or scarlet herrings, if you will. And the Dottie Jones buildup was a red herring. The aerospace engineer was a red herring.
Quicksilver.
The what now?
Quicksilver kind of was a red herring.
Quicksilver was a red herring. They had a lot of these false starts that were trying to get us thinking of different things. And then, of course,
cameo.
Yeah, Paul Bettany's cameo. There was a lot of stuff like that where it's like, okay, this could go in a lot of different directions, and some of them would be more fan service than good storytelling. Honestly, I feel like they committed to the story they were trying to tell, which was the WandaVision family story, and I really liked it. Without the hype, I think I would have been more grounded going into the show. So the series as a whole, I would give it a 4. I really liked it. I thought the storytelling was really good. I thought the theme that they stuck with of grief and coming to terms with loss is always a really interesting perspective, especially with superpowered people who are, I mean, Wanda Maximoff in the MCU is quite damaged, but she always has this kind of try hard attitude where she's trying to overcome her past. And that's something that a lot of people really resonate with. And I know I do personally. So, 4 for the whole season, 3.5 for the episode, I think is what I said, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Max, what about you?
I want to be at a 3 for the episode. I was really considering giving it 2.5, but that's a 2.5 would only just be because I overhyped it myself. That was my fault, not the series. So I think a 3 is an adequate score for it. It was it was an enjoyable episode. I liked it. I just like the fight between Vision and Vision was fine. It was generic. I did really like their final standoff where there was a logical discussion leading to the conflict being resolved. I liked that. I liked the tension between Wanda and Agatha and how that all played out with the runes. And then another thing, and we didn't talk about this moment, and we don't need to talk too much more, but I will say another thing I very much liked about this episode was at the end when she's saying goodbye to her kids. As I've mentioned on the show several times, I was a foster dad, and I've had to say goodbye to many kids, and I knew I had to give them up. So I could relate with that moment very, very much.
Wow, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's
so
great. Beat for beat.
So that was really good. Honestly, in some regards, I think that they didn't do as good of a job as they could have, because they didn't freak out about losing those kids nearly as much as a human being would have. But I understand that they didn't want to get too distracted by that, because I think most people would have been in fits of tears over having to give up their kids. That's certainly how we were.
It probably would have taken away from the emotional goodbye that she gave Vision as well.
Exactly, and that was the focus, and that's why I'm saying I understand why they didn't make it as big of a focus around it. I thought they did a good job. That moment resonated with me though quite a bit. But then there was just the space engineer thing. I thought a lot of the red herrings were kind of. I feel like Marvel misled us, and I haven't been this annoyed with Marvel since Iron Man 3. That pissed me off. I'm still pissed off about Iron Man 3. I'm not gonna be. I don't think I'm gonna be pissed about the WandaVision stuff in 7 years like I am Iron Man 3. But man, that pissed me off. I left the theater. I've never left the theater for a Marvel movie pissed off. That's the only time.
I still want them to retcon that piece of garbage.
They need to. Gosh. Well, they kind of did anyway with one of the Marvel one shots, but yeah. So 3 for the episode, and then I'm gonna give a 4. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to just a 4 for the series. I want to give it that extra half, but I'm gonna stick to a 4. I absolutely loved the series though, so good, so good.
So I'm gonna be real brief because I know Travis has got to get out of here. He's recording the Pop Banzai podcast directly after this with our friend Jay Castro. The episode as a whole, just because it was typical MCU, and I've grown accustomed to this show giving us more than what the MCU has given us before, I'm going to give it a 3.5. But I have not been this excited about an episode coming out in a very, very long time. Wednesday, I'm like, gosh dang it, is it Friday yet? Solely because of this show. So the series as a whole is going to get a 4.5 out of me. I thought it was just perfect storytelling. I loved the first 3 episodes, so I'm a little different than Tyler in that regard. The first 3 episodes were just so nostalgic for me. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved them too. I'm with you.
That was very true to the source material, and I love the explanation that they gave us last week with the watching the home videos. It makes those 3 episodes even more enjoyable, knowing why they existed in the way that they did. So I thought they tied everything up with a nice little bow and left me excited for the show, for the movies that are going to stem off of this.
You say they tied you up in a nice little bow? Put you underneath the tree? Little cutie Lance sitting under there.
So it made me excited about Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, because I think those 2 movies are going to have the most impact from this show. So real quick, Maxie, what's the headline that you have?
Just that A Quiet Place got moved up to Memorial Day weekend. That was really it. Do I believe it? Not sure. This is, I think, the 4th time that they've changed the release date. But
it got moved up.
I never saw that. Is that really good? You really recommend that? The Quiet Place.
The Quiet Place is great.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, Travis, I have to tell you about the first time I saw it. I went on opening night and got my popcorn, got my drink, and there were probably 40 other people in the theater, and you could hear the typical mumble, low, dull roar of a movie-going audience. And in the opening scene, a kid gets killed in the opening scene, and at that moment, all noise dropped to 0. And the whole audience was holding their breath for the next hour and a half.
It was great.
So intense, dude.
That's the sequel to Save the Cat is Kill the Kid in the first frame.
Yeah.
Well, they like seriously, like I would say 50 to 60% of the movie is silent. Like there's no music. There's nothing like
it's so good.
I mean, not completely silent. Like you'll hear
like an ASMR
leaves,
video.
but like
Okay.
well, it's suspenseful, man. They use silence as a storytelling element, and it's fast. It's really good. It's really good.
Like complete silence, or is there like atmosphere tone?
There might be
There's
some
ambient.
atmosphere.
There's ambient.
Yeah.
Ambient. Okay.
Yeah, like they're walking in the forest, you'll hear like the crackle.
It might be too uncomfortable to just have dead film with no kind of ambient or kind of sound in there. That'd be an interesting idea too. How that would make an audience feel with just complete.
Well,
I don't think it'd work.
It definitely made me feel awkward watching it in the theater. It was great, but I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to be as quiet as possible, crunching my popcorn because it was
so
quiet.
scared. Is it scary? Like you get like
it's a little scary.
It's a thriller. It's not like a horror movie scary, but it's definitely a thriller.
But it fits in the horror genre. Like if you ask anybody, they would call it a horror movie, but it's more thriller. It's not the kind of horror though where like you hear a noise downstairs and you're like, oh, just watch a movie.
No.
You're like,
no, it's like an intense episode of Stranger Things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good
So I would call that one of probably. I'm a big horror movie fan. I would put that in my top 15.
Oh wow! Okay,
I loved it that much just because of how
really
original it was.
One of the next
and
things
the
I
fact
check
that
out.
it comes from Jim from The Office is even more remarkable. I mean, he directed the thing, and performed in it, and he was great in it. So I'm a little worried about the sequel because the first one is adapted from a novel. The second one is completely original. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see. But it was originally supposed to come out like March 12th of 2020, and then they moved it to like, I don't know, I think September of 2020, and then they moved it to April of 2021, and then they moved it to September of 2021, and now they've moved it to May of 2021. So is it going to stay in May of 2021? We'll see.
I would say if they moved it to September and brought it back to May, that this one more than
I think so. I agree.
They wouldn't have done that and then move it again. They're just going to piss people off.
I agree.
Is that the only big piece of news you have?
That's the only thing I really had.
Anybody else, real quick, before we close out the show?
Quick question: is Krasinski the one who directed the sequel?
Yes. I believe so. Yeah,
he's not in it, from my understanding. So
he is.
Travis, real quick, plug your podcast, man.
Yeah, still doing the Comic Exposure podcast. Every other week, we dip into a trade or graphic novel. We just did the Immortal Hulk. So if you're into that, you can check that out. And Pop Banzai Podcast, where we take a big theme. Like we just did 4 episodes on hotels, and we kind of take a look at, okay, how does pop culture portray hotels through several different mediums? So we'll look at a movie, we'll look at a book, we'll look at an album or a song or something like that. And we kind of just take these big ideas and try to look at, all right, how is pop culture portraying that? Is it accurate and kind of things like that? So check either of those out.
And I was on your episode last week.
Yeah, we're starting a gamer set. And so you were on to talk about Scott Pilgrim. We're going to talk about King of Kong today. So
nice.
It's really fun. It is. It is a lot of fun. And to talk about some of those old properties, especially Scott Pilgrim, one of my all-time favorite movies, was a blast. And to do it with 2 cool dudes like Travis and Jay was
so Travis, are you guys going to be talking about covers of video game music done with Tesla coils?
No, but we might now. We are going to do at the end of every set. We create a playlist that kind of where we pick songs that kind of encapsulate parts of the conversation we had on that genre. And so we're doing like video games ones. I'll definitely put a Tesla coil one if that's a real thing or you're just bullshitting me.
No, it's for real. Dude. They use lightning. Okay. They use lightning to play songs. This is amazing.
All right, I'm gonna check that out.
Oh, the joys that Sam finds in life. I love you, dude.
That's what I should have talked about in what we were watching, because I've been watching a lot of Tesla coil music covered. Rah Rasputin with Tesla coils is so
he's got his polo popped up and he's pumping his fist to some
Tesla coil. Rah Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen.
I can only stand about 20 seconds of Tesla coils and I gotta shut it off, dude. I can't do it, dude. I can't do it. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. We are the Couch Crunchers. Thank you so much to Travis for coming on the show tonight and talking the series finale of WandaVision. Next week, we're going to be talking about the new Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland movie, Chaos Walking. So be sure to tune in for that. Couch Crunchers is live every Friday night at 7 p.m. right here on YouTube. But in the meantime, you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and our website, couchcrunchers.com. Go check out our friends tomorrow night, Modern Comic Mayhem with the boys formerly known as Absolute Geek. And right before our show every Friday at 6 o'clock is the Grizzle Geek Boys. So go check them out as well. Grizzle Geek Boys and Gal.
Triple D Dodgeball every Wednesday night.
And Triple D Dodgeball every Wednesday night. Basically, you guys should just rename your league as Nutshot Wednesdays. So I think that would be great.
That's a great idea. We'll call it Lancemizing yourself.
And tune in every week to hear more stories about my gruesome vasectomy. So until next time, keep on geeking on.